Welcome everybody. Good morning to this exciting groundbreaking of Cedar Mini Park. And I'm so happy that this, I was going to say charming little corner of Glendale, but after that house came down, the park looks huge. I think it's our biggest mini park with 3 acres. I'm also thrilled that the park's centerpiece, our historic 1913 bungalow, is already complete and beautifully restored, just beautifully restored with every attention to detail. So if you haven't been inside yet, please go inside. You'll be amazed. I'm Dottie Sharkey, President of Glendale Parks Recreation and Community Services Commission. And first I'd like to introduce my colleagues on the Parks and Rec Commission. James Ward, Steve Ropfogel, Rodney Cohn. And next, I'd like to introduce one of the many, many people who helped make this park possible, our mayor, Frank Quintero.
Thank you, Dottie. It is a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to open parks, so to speak. And I want to recognize Ara Najarian, who is a former mayor and city council member, and who, along with me, has been a major proponent of park space, whether it's open space, parkland for recreational purposes, sports and so forth, or the little mini parks that we put together in the more urbanized sections of Glendale. And that's exactly what we've done here. We've taken a corner lot, as we have all over the city. We've taken a corner lot, and we will eventually have a great little park here, and not so little, but a great park that people will be able to walk to and just spend some time. So every opportunity that we get to do this in the southern and more dense portion of the city towards the west, we always buy the land. It's a singular best thing we can do. Now, what makes this particular project so unique is the fact that we also have youth services that'll be taking place in the restored bungalow. And so I think in addition to serving the neighborhood, it's also going to serve some at-risk youth with a wonderful program. And as usual, many departments work together, and one of the most important departments has been the Community Development Department, and the director is here. Please stand up. Jess Duran is the Director of Community Development and Housing. And then I want to thank the Parks Department in general. They do a great job with George Chapchian, Dave Ahern, who's kind of the Dave Ahern is kind of that boss, you know, in every construction project or planning project. You have to have a boss that kind of puts her nose to the grindstone, and that would be Dave Ahern. And then we have a very talented architect who's worked for many years in the city of Glendale. She served on the Design Review Board, and now she works for Parks and Rec, and she's done a wonderful job, and that's Lila Batar. And then my final thanks go to the Historic Preservation Committee and a former planning director who are also here in the audience, because they made sure that that cottage stayed intact. So please stand up, both of you. Please stand up. All right. And then the final person I'm going to recognize is Jolene Wagner, who has also helped with the program, and she's on the Glendale Unified School District. And as I say, this is also to serve at-risk youth. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I'd like to introduce our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services, George Chapchian.
Thank you, Dottie. First of all, I would like to thank the City Council, and Ara and I were just talking over there just briefly. This house almost wasn't if it wasn't for the foresight of the City Council and the Historic Society, who helped us to preserve this house, and it's a fantastic house. If you haven't seen it, please go take a look inside. I want to just recognize a few people. We talked about Jess Duran. You can't recognize him enough. We shake him down for I don't know how much money over the years. So Jess is an important person in our lives. Gary Cornell. Gary, stand up, please. He's with the CDBG Advisory Board. I want to thank you, Gary. I think Armine Hunanyan Dilanyan's here from Community Development and Housing. Did we mention Susie Jacobs? Susie's here from Paul Krikorian's office, Assemblyman Krikorian. And then someone who I work with closely, Yasmin Beers. Yaz is here, Assistant City Manager. Did I forget anybody else? And then the staff who will be here, Carolyn Fuentes, who's our Community Services Manager, and Walter Alvarez. It's going to be their job to service the at-risk youth over here who come for services and their staff. So, guys, good luck. We're giving you a nice environment to help these kids enjoy it and do some great work out there. Thank you. And now I want to introduce Lila Patar, our project manager. Say a few words.
Good morning. What an exciting day this is. It's been long in the making. Before I recognize the team, I want to express my gratitude to our City Council for their vision and their vote to save this magnificent Craftsman bungalow for future generations in Glendale. That vote was very significant in our historic preservation. And I wanted to tell you, November 26th was the happiest day for me in 2006 when that vote was made. I had only one wish in 2006, and that was it, to save the bungalow. Thank you. I would also like to thank again the Historic Society. Arlene Vidor and John Locasio. John couldn't make it today, put so much time into this project. Thank you. Here is the fruit of your effort. Of course, Elaine Wilkinson, thank you very much for your effort. I'd like to thank the Parks Commission, of course, it goes without saying, for all their deep interest and support in our projects. And I'd like to thank the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you for your support and your votes to support our project all along the process. And my last thank I want to give to our leader, our director, George Chapchian, who has the open vision and who embraces change and new ideas. This project has unique features that are different from our parks. And just the concept of designing it as a public garden. This is something new for us in Glendale. And I had very strong feelings about that for several reasons. One, we had an existing garden on site. In fact, our environmental impact report assessed it and found it not significant to be preserved. But that was a strong element that the community associated with. And second, we have the Craftsman bungalow, and gardens were associated with Craftsman style, Craftsman period. So that was another reason. And the third one was the fact that this neighborhood has all these apartment buildings. People did not have backyards, and that garden would make up for their backyard. And George completely embraced the idea, and that was the direction of the project. And now I want to introduce our team. Consultants, first, Calvin Abbey. Calvin started with us concept design. He helped us with going out to the neighborhood, getting the feedback, and identifying the components of the project. Then George and I decided we want to have this project go in the direction as a garden. So I started looking for a garden designer, someone who has a specialty. And it happened that I was at the Disney Concert Hall garden. Some of you may have seen it. It's a beautiful public garden. Found out that Melinda Taylor and Associate designed that project. So I brought Melinda to Glendale to design our garden. And fortunately, I don't see Melinda here, but she is one tremendously talented individual. And you will see that vision come to reality when the park is built. Our third consultant is EPT Design Group, Steve Carroll and Matt Lisney, our project manager here. All our consultants are award-winning consultants. They're very top quality group. EPT will take our project, they did the drawings for us, and they'll take our project through the construction process. Now I'd like to acknowledge our team from the Parks Department. I'd like to acknowledge George Balteria. George Balteria, in the last 12 years I was in the department, George Balteria looked over our shoulders and made sure every nuts and bolts are in the right places on the project. Tremendous support for us in the department. Thank you, George. April Robles, where's April? April, here. April is our right hand. She contributes to so many facets in our projects, and she does a beautiful job at anything she touches. And I, of course, would like to recognize our CIP administrator, Dave Ahern. Just like the mayor said, the nicest boss anybody could have. And some of you may not know, but Dave actually was the project manager on the restoration of the Good House. So you can see how excited he was and supportive on this project. I'd like to also recognize our maintenance staff, Gary Morello, who was complete support for us throughout the process. Raymond Wang, I don't know if Raymond is here, but also partnered with us throughout the process. And I'd like to recognize our recreation group, our recreation partners, Brittany Bellotti, Carolyn, and Walter, for beautifully decorating this bungalow and making it what a welcoming place for the neighborhood. Thank you. We have some partners also in other departments that significantly contributed to this project. Jan Edwards. Jan. I have to tell you a story about Jan. Jan is our senior code specialist in the building department. But Jan is herself, I don't know if I can tell this story. I can. She's shaking yes. Jan herself, she and her husband have been restoring a bungalow, a craftsman themselves, hands-on, for over a decade maybe. And that's why when the bungalow was in my plate, I immediately went and partnered with Jan from day one. This lady had a role in saving this bungalow. And throughout the renovation, she made sure that the integrity of the bungalow is there. Nothing was violated. All the code she applied, all the knowledge she had. Thank you, Jan. I'd like to recognize Joe Merrily from our fire department. Dave Woods, our fire marshal, was personally involved in this project. And with his direction, Joe made sure that, we have a lot of fire apparatus in this building. We have 3 layers of sprinkler system. And Joe made sure nothing interferes with the visuals of the bungalow. From the planning department, our partners were Eric Krause, who shepherded the environmental project. The whole process took about 2 years. And then Tim Foy and Jay Platt, who couldn't make it today, who really helped us with the restoration of this project. And finally, our contractors. Our contractor, unfortunately, I don't see him from Vargas Structure. He put countless hours in his staff to make sure this bungalow is beautiful. And did a wonderful job. And then I see our contractor, who was the lowest successful bidder and going to be doing this project, Micon Construction, Inc. from Orange County. We have Mike Weaver here, who's the project manager. And we have Scott Davis, who's hiding. He said, I don't want to be here, who is the superintendent on the job. And this project will be going for 5 months in construction, and then we'll have 3 months of maintenance. So we are hoping to open this beautiful garden in January of 2010. Thank you. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
I have to tell you, as a good friend of Lila's, I have been fortunate enough to share her excitement through this whole project. It's been wonderful. And I noticed a few more people showed up. Our newest council member, Laura Friedman, and our assistant city manager, Bob McFall. So, where is he? Artie. Artie. Our city clerk, who was chauffeured in, I understand. Okay, so we are ready for the groundbreaking, but first I just want to, afterwards, please go through the bungalow. There's refreshments there. And I'd like to invite, I don't have my glasses, city officials, elected officials, city staff, contractors, and architects for the groundbreaking and pictures. Okay? Thanks.